Were you told you were shy? Do you identify as shy? Do you hate that word now? Do you just wish you could get over it and get on with your life? Welcome to Shining Beyond Shy, empowering you to create a greater life than you ever thought was possible. With your Shining Beyond Shy host, Fiona Cups. Hi everyone, and welcome to this week's installment or episode of Shining Beyond Shy with your Shining Beyond Shy host, Fiona Cups. It's a pleasure to be here, broadcasting from Egypt. I'm in the amazing city of Luxor, which people refer to as an open-air museum. And I'm going to be talking about something that I've actually learned in Luxor, and I'm going to call this week's episode People and Space, Lessons from the Valley of the Kings. If that's not too long, it may turn out to be just people and space. So I'm going to start by a memory that just came to me when I was thinking about my experience that led to this week's episode. And it was actually when I was at school. I was in the sixth form. So in the sixth form, we had certain privileges. We always used to talk about it like this. We were allowed to wear our own clothes, which really meant we didn't have to wear school uniform anymore. And we also had Friday afternoons off. So I remember early afternoon on Friday, sitting in the kitchen, having the whole house to myself and eating a packet of salt and vinegar crisps. And completely unexpectedly, my dad came in and I immediately felt, ugh. And I actually thought it was because I was caught eating a packet of crisps. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with eating a packet of crisps. That was more to do with my stuff around food. But I felt wrong and I thought it was because of the crisps. So I felt yucky. And actually what I see now is that it was so yummy and spacious to have the house to myself. So we're aware beings. We're aware of other people and where they're functioning from. We're aware of their energy. And the house without people in it was much easier for me to be in than when just one other person came in. And most of the time, and it wasn't like it was a tiny house, but we had 4 people in quite a small, I would consider now a really small space. And really, we tend to grow up in these environments where we're bombarded by other people's stuff without even knowing that. And it just came back to me that memory, oh, that was what actually was going on. I mean, no doubt there was some guilt around the crisps, but actually the main thing that was going on was that I became really aware of my dad's universe, and it was really uncomfortable to be around. So fast forward, I won't tell you how many years, but a few years, a few decades to the Valley of the Kings. So yesterday I went to the Valley of the Kings, which is amazing. And it's this amazing space in the desert where they have buried their dead, their kings, their emperors, their whatever they're called. And I'm so good on history, and actually I tend to wander around these places taking in the atmosphere rather than knowing loads of facts, so apologies, you're not going to get any historical facts. But basically, you're with a ticket, you're allowed into 3 of these tombs, and I went into the ones where there were fewer people and that were further away. It's like a lot of tourists won't walk that far, they'll go to the closest ones. So I ended up in this tomb by myself, and it's like the engravings, the pictures on the wall. I mean, it's just beautiful, and it's beyond beautiful. It's like when I went down and there was no one else there, it's like the desert, the sand, the tomb, the work of the craftsman, the beauty of the pictures, which in some cases were quite worn down, but still like such a contribution. It's like my whole body relaxed and there was like a peace in my world. It was just amazing. And so there'd been a tourist guide. Well, actually, he told me he wasn't a tourist guide. So there was an Egyptian man at the top of the tomb who obviously wanted to show me stuff, take pictures, give me information, and then receive some bakshish. And it isn't so much that I don't want to give the bakshish. It's not really about that. It's actually that I want to be on my own. Not so interested in the history. And I discovered why I mean, I knew this already, but it was so full on. So basically I was in the bottom of this tomb, and I could hear the steps of the Egyptian guy coming towards me. But as well as hearing the steps, I was aware of his presence. And it's like I could feel this energy of this person coming more and more into my energy field. And the way that I can best describe it is like there felt like this unease and this like yuck in my body. And I mean, I'm sorry to describe the energy field or the presence of another person like that, but mainly the people who work at these places in Egypt, they're looking to get money off tourists. Let's just say it directly. It's like they see tourists as cash cows, and well, maybe there's some truth in that. And I mean, you imagine what it's like living in a poor country when you see these people coming who have so much more than you do. It's like, I can get all of that, but that energy of need, and also that energy of, I'm going to get something from you, you're rich, I'm going to get something from you. It's like it was sort of yucky in my awareness to perceive that. And it just made me aware of, and I know I've talked about this on other episodes, but it was so full on. It made me really, really aware, oh, we're energetic beings. We perceive other people's energies. And you know how sometimes someone just has a really amazing energy. I remember, and I may have talked about this on another podcast, I remember when I was in Montenegro, often, well, mainly preferring not to have anybody sitting next to me, preferring to be on emptier buses, and sitting next to this young guy who was just so easy to sit next to. Or actually on the way to the Valley of the Kings, it's like I've been here in Luxor for a week now, and everybody wants to take me to these tourist sites. Everyone wants to take me on their felucca. Everyone wants to take me to the other side. And the other side, I mean, the other side of Luxor, there's the West Bank and the East Bank. I'm staying on the West Bank, and some of the sites and the city is on the East Bank. So basically, they've got all these things that they want to sell you. So I actually chose to go to the Valley of the Kings on somebody's motorbike. And he was just somebody, it's like there's so many people who push so much. And he was just someone who I thought it would be easier to be with for, well, for the, I don't know, 20 minutes motorbike ride. And it's true, it was really easy for my body to be close to his body as we were on the motorbike, and it was really fun. That's why I chose it. And but I'm saying that because he was somebody who it was easy to be around, and we are aware of these energies. And when we're not, well, what tends to happen, so going back to me in the packet of crisps episode, what tends to happen when we don't know what's going on is, like for me, that Friday afternoon was ruined. I felt really angry with my dad. He shouldn't have been there. Those Friday afternoons were my special time. And yeah, I hated that his energy came in. I don't know, you know, I thought it was the crit or whatever. It's like it just ruined everything. So now, with these tools, what I can see is, oh, I'm just aware of the other person's energy, or many other people's energy. So another thing here in Luxor is that the West Bank is actually what they call the village. And so it's like the village plus behind the village, most of the historic sites. So most of the historic sites are on this side. way fewer people over here than on the East Bank. And it's literally true that when I catch the boat across, the ferry across, you land on the East Bank and it's like, whoa, it's like you suddenly become aware of all these people. But here's the thing, we can be space around it. What we tend to do is, wow, what's going on? Boom, we solidify everything in our bodies. And actually what it's possible to do is ask to be space around it. And it's funny, this morning, another example from Egypt. So I'm seeing how it will be to stay longer in Egypt. So I have a 1-month visa, and my landlord was sort of saying, he gave me this long convoluted thing about how I could stay for 6 months, and one of those months would be in his apartment. I was like, no, I'm not interested in that. Don't want to stay that long. Don't want to stay that long in your apartment. And so he came up with this other scheme. And so we went to the visa office this morning, and it looks like I'm going to stay another 2 weeks. But basically what I realized was, oh, my body says yes to that. He hasn't really been telling me the truth. He's trying to get me to stay here for 6 months and another month in his apartment. He lied to me to get me to the visa office this morning. And at a certain point, I became aware of all that, and I had this in my body around it. And I've had to really use the tools to come back to me. I mean, I woke up in a really, really good space this morning. I pulled energy and got into the building with ease. You know, some people are saying it's difficult to get in because of COVID regulations. So all of that was going well, and I had the information I needed from the guy. And then just became aware of how this guy is continually lying to me and, yeah, trying to get more money out of me, basically. And I think it's more the lying that bothers me than the money. And I need to do another. Maybe next week I'll do a podcast about money, because being in Egypt has brought up every point of view I have about money, or every point of view I resonate with around money. Anyway, I digress. So I've had to really use the tools to have clarity that awareness of him and his lies and the way that he operates is just information. It's not something that I have to take into my body. It's not something that I have to resist. And because if you resist stuff like that, how can you live on this planet? I should say, how can you live in Egypt? But how can you live on this planet if there are so many things that you need to resist? And this is what most of us have done. And particularly most of us shy people have done. We've kind of resisted the stuff that we haven't wanted because we've decided it's too difficult. Actually, I was able to shift it really easily and quickly this morning, even though I was like a bit resentful. Hey, I woke up in a good space. I went for a drive with you. I realized a few things about you, and now I'm not in a good space. No, I'm not willing to have that now. I will use the tools and change it around. And what did I use? Well, hey, I had a conversation with my body. Hey, body, this is just information. This is just information about this crazy landlord. We can be space around it. And the other thing is that part of me wants to change him. It is like, I was like really tempted to say, I know you're lying to me. And there's no point in going into any of that. There's no point at all. You know, he chooses what he chooses. And there may be some point at which he can becomes aware that tourists don't like being treated like this. He may become aware of it. I would say he most likely won't. And the more that I can just be space and allowance around it, the easier it will be for me, not just in Egypt, but living my life. The more that I can just know, hey, this is stuff that I'm aware of. And here's the thing, when you're aware of it, you can't return it to sender because it's not yours to return. But you can just ask to be space around the stuff that you're aware of. So I hope that's helpful. I wonder what would it take to have, well, it's like I talked about the desert and the sand and being down this tomb. So you don't have to be in the middle of Luxor, in the middle of some you don't need to go down into a tomb to experience that peace. But what if we could spend more time in nature, more time connecting with the earth? And I know for me that's a must. And one of the reasons why I like being in this village here in Luxor, because it's like I step out and I'm on the sand. It's like they're dirt roads here, or sand roads here, whatever you want to call them. And right by the Nile. I just love it. I just love it. And that's my body just loving the space of the earth. So I hope this was a contribution to you. And please share it. Please like it if it was. And I will see you next time. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. I'm so grateful for you. It would be great if you could subscribe, great if you could leave a review wherever you're listening. And if you'd like some quick, simple tips to overcome shyness wherever you are, please go to my website, fionacuts.com, where you can download my free product, 5 Steps to Overcoming Shyness Wherever You Are. Thank you again, and see you next time.